Good morning guys, my name is Yuvraj and in today's exciting video, I'm going to show you how to add the job schema to your pages and posts on your website using Schema Pro. So let's get started. If you enjoy this kind of content, then make sure that you're subscribed to our channel and also turn on the notifications by hitting that bell icon so that you can be notified about whenever we upload a new video to our channel. So the job schema is obviously related to jobs. Whenever you're talking about jobs, whenever you're posting jobs on your website, it applies to both websites, whether you have a job portal or you have a single section of your website where you post a job. For example, you might have a training website where you train people on a specific skill, and then you talk about the jobs that are also available posted by other companies. You can have the job schema in both cases. So let's take an example of the results of the job schema, or what will be the benefit of having the job schema on your website. So here's an example of the job schema. I just Googled WordPress developer jobs Canada, and apart from the ad, this is the result of the job schema. As you can see, Google has a special interface just for jobs, and it has a lot of filters, and obviously it also lists where the job listing is being picked from. For example, you can see via Smart Recruiter jobs, via Angel List, via ZipRecruiter, and your job can also show up here. So the advantage to you as an employer or as a person who's talking about jobs is that you can get more distribution about your job listing. And obviously, since the candidates can bookmark your listings and filter your listings, you will likely have more candidates apply and good quality or better quality candidates apply for your jobs. So that's the advantage of having the right job schema on your pages and posts. Let's also look at the Google's guidelines, what it says. Okay, so this is the Google's guidelines. I'll leave a link to this in the description so that you can check it out if you want. And let me read out what the guidelines actually say. So it says you can improve the job seeking experience by adding job posting structured data to your posting web pages. Adding structured data makes your job posting eligible to appear in a special user experience in Google search results. You can also integrate with Google by using a third-party job site, which is not the topic of this video. So this is the primary advantage of having the job schema on your website. So let's get back to the website and I'll show you how to add the job schema to your pages and posts on your website. Alright, I'm inside my website, and to start adding the job schema to our pages and posts, I'll be using Schema Pro, which is a product created by us. So to start adding the schema, I'll go to Settings, Schema Pro. And this is the first page that you'll see inside Schema Pro. If you have created any schemas with Schema Pro, you'll see them here. You can start adding or creating new schemas by clicking the Add New button. And this is the schema selection screen. This is where you select what kind of schema you're trying to add on your page. As you can see, we have 15 types of schema supported at the date of this recording, and we'll choose the appropriate schema that we are trying to add in this video, which is the job schema. So the job posting schema type is the one we'll select and click the next button. Okay, so this is an important part of the video because these are the targeting options. And these are the options that help us determine which pages and posts will get the schema. Now, obviously, not all pages on your website will be talking about jobs. So the targeting options help you determine or tell Schema Pro on what pages and posts you want Schema Pro to add the job schema on. So you have two types of targeting options. You have enable on and exclude from. I usually call them inclusion and exclusion options. So the rules are pretty simple. Any pages or posts that qualify here will get the schema, and any page, post, category, taxonomies that qualify here will not get the schema. So let me show you what the options are, and it will become clear how these work. So here are the options in the inclusion options. You can target all singulars, that means all the pages and posts on your website, just the front page of your website, all posts on your website, all pages on your website, and you can also target specific pages, posts, custom posts, and archives. And usually when you're talking about jobs, this is the option that will be most useful for you, because if you have a category related to jobs, you can easily target it here. So let me show you how it works. I'll choose the specific targeting option here. And once you select that option, you'll have a search box open up like this. So all you have to do is search for the page, post, custom post, or taxonomy that you want to exclude from the schema. So I already have a category on my website called job posting. So I'll just start typing in. And Schema Pro has detected all singulars from job post. That means all the posts from the job posting category will get the job posting schema. So let me select that and I'll click the next button to continue on the next step. So the exclusion options are just the same options are available. The only difference is that whenever a page or post qualifies, they will not get the schema. So this gives you complete control over which pages and posts you want to add the schema on. So currently I don't have any pages or posts that I want to exclude from the schema. So I'll just keep it at select targeting rules, which is the default selection option, and I'll click the next button. All right, schema is now set up. So I'll click the complete setup button and complete the schema setup from this step, but there's a couple more steps remaining. So let's get to that. So this is the edit schema page. This is where you refine the schema, and most importantly, you configure how the schema appears on your page and post. So it has some options. Let me go through them one by one. The first option is changing the name of the schema. Now, obviously the default name is job posting, but you might have different kinds of jobs. You might be talking about different categories of jobs, and you might want to create different kinds of schema, which will become clearer when we talk about the options below. So this just gives you a lot of flexibility to name schemas in a certain way so that you can identify which schema is going on to which page. The next option is the targeting options, which we just saw. You can customize it once again if you want to come back to it at a later date. But right now, there's no need to do that. So I'll move on to the next option, which is the schema fields option. Now, this is the most important option because this is where we map schema fields to certain data. To explain what I just said, I think you need some context. So let me explain how Schema Pro works. Now, instead of having to add all the details of schema manually to each page and post, Schema Pro automates a lot of that process by mapping certain fields of schema to variables on your website. Now, the variables can be of 4 different types. Let me explain by taking an example here. Let's take the hiring organization field as an example. If I click the drop-down menu right here, you'll see all the different variables that I was talking about. The first variable that I was talking about was the site meta or the post meta. So you have access to the site meta and also the post meta, and you can map any of the fields to existing schema data. The next option that I was talking about, the second option, is the other custom fields. So if you have a custom field plugin installed, for example, advanced custom fields or similar plugins, you can map custom fields from those plugins to existing schema data, saving you a bunch of time. The next or the third option that I was talking about was the new custom field option. So when you use the new custom field option, you will have the option of entering the data on the post itself, and Schema Pro will save it in a new custom field. The fourth and the last option is the fixed text option. And this lets you enter a fixed text inside the field, which is then applied to all the posts that get the schema. So this gives you complete control over what kind of data you want to add to the schema. And Schema Pro does a good job in identifying what fields can benefit by having the existing metadata from your website mapped. For example, the hiring organization was already mapped to the site title, and you can also see some of the other fields are also mapped to existing fields or existing metadata from your website. Now that you understand how to configure schema data using the variables, let's now talk about what the fields are and what kind of data will go into each of these fields. For that, we include a helpful link with each of our schemas, which is right here. If you click on this link, a new tab will open up in your browser, which will take you to a blog post on our website, which describes the job posting schema in detail and also describes what the fields are, what information you need to add into each of these fields in a lot of detail. So I'll leave a link down in the description for this particular blog post as well. So if you're not a Schema Pro user yet, then you can also check it out and understand how to configure the job posting schema using Schema Pro. Let's get back to our website. Okay, let's start talking about the fields themselves. But before that, there's one important clarification or distinction you need to understand. Whenever we talk about schema fields, there are 2 types of fields. Some are mandatory and some are recommended. The mandatory fields will have a red asterisk in front of them, which is how you know that these are mandatory fields. The optional or the recommended fields will not have that. Now, the idea is that recommended fields have to be filled in, otherwise your schema will not be valid and Google will not consider your page or post for the job posting results. But the recommended fields can be left out. But if you want to enhance your schema or maximize the benefit of having schema, then I would recommend that you fill out all the fields. And as you saw with Schema Pro, a lot of these things can be automated. That means you will save a lot of time even if you fill in all the fields inside schema. So let's talk about the fields themselves. So the first option is the job title field. Now, obviously, job title means the title of the job. What are you hiring for? What is the position called? That is what you need to enter in the job title field. So I'll not fill the field here. I'll show it to you on the page itself, how to fill these out. And right now, I'll just explain what the fields are and what data has to go into the fields. The next field is the hiring organization field. And here you'll have to enter the name of the organization that is posting the job. The next option is the hiring organization URL. So here you'll enter the URL of the organization that is posting the job. So if it's your website, as you can see, Schema Pro has mapped it to site URL. That means your website's URL. But you can change it if you are talking about a job by another company or another organization. You can do it right here in the schema, or you can also do it on the page itself, which I'll show you later. The next option is the hiring organization logo. And as you can see, Schema Pro has automatically mapped this field to your website's logo because it assumes that you are posting the job on behalf of your organization or your website. So you have the option of changing it. You can map it to the logo of the organization that you're posting the job on behalf of. The next option is the industry option. Which industry does the job belong to? Hospitality, restaurant, food, space, family, film or movies? Just enter the names here. The next option is the employment type. Now, what kind of employment type are you offering? We'll discuss more details on the post itself, so stay tuned for that. The next option is the job description. Here, you'll describe the job that you're looking for the ideal employee for. For example, what will be the responsibilities, where they'll be working, what kind of projects will be they working on. You should enter all of these details here. And Schema Pro recognizes this and maps the content of the post to your existing job description schema field. Now, it's obvious that if you're talking about a specific job on a post, then the content will primarily be about the specific job, but you do have the option of changing this on the post itself. I'll show you how to do that when we discuss this on the post itself. The next option is the date posted. When does the job get published? So obviously Schema Pro has detected that this is a date kind of field and has mapped it to the published date of your post, because when the date or when the post will be published is the only time when the date posted will become valid. So that makes sense. The next option is the valid through field. Now here you'll enter the date until which the job listing is valid. This field is important to configure correctly, and I'll show you how to do that on the post itself. Let's move on to the next option, which is the education field. Now, next few fields are mostly about what kind of employee or what kind of person are you looking for. So the education, the job experience, the qualifications, and the responsibility, the skills, all are related to what kind of person you're looking for. So the more you fill in this data, the more Google will be able to identify the ideal candidate and then probably distribute the content or distribute the job listing to more ideal candidates. The next few options are also pretty self-explanatory. Let me go through them quickly. The work hours is where you define what is the ideal timing that you'll be offering for the job. And the next few options are related to the address, the street address, the locality, postal code, region, country. All these are location-based or address-based fields, and all of them are mandatory. So we'll be filling them up on the post itself. The next few options are related to salary. So you have the option to configure the base salary, the minimum salary, maximum salary, salary in currency, and salary per unit. And I'll show you all these options on the post, so don't worry about that, how to configure them. I'll show you details, and it's very easy to configure them when you are doing it on a post itself. So now let's save the schema, and then we'll go to a page or post where we'll configure the schema. So I'll come here, I'll update the schema. So let's go to a post where we'll configure the schema. Okay, so this is a post that we'll be working on. The title of the post is WordPress developer, because that's the kind of job we are talking about. And it's the same kind of example that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So I thought it would be appropriate to use the same example here as well. So this is the post, title, the content, and all the details about the post in the Gutenberg editor are on the right hand side. And the job posting category, which I was talking about, is also present on the page. Now I want to check the schema on the post. So all I have to do is scroll down below. And here is the Schema Pro job posting schema and all the options that we just saw, and the option to configure them as well. So let's start configuring them quickly. But first, let me tell you some important details about what I see here on the post itself. So as I told you, the mandatory fields are denoted by a red asterisk sign. And if you don't fill them up, then Google will not recognize your schema or reject the schema for rich results. So Schema Pro identifies that a lot of the mandatory fields are right now empty. So it's giving you a red sign, or the field itself has converted to a red font to signify that these fields are not actually filled in. And Schema Pro has a handy option inside the settings, which lets you configure Schema Pro in a way that whenever it detects any of these mandatory fields as empty or not filled in properly, then it does not add schema to the page entirely. The reason behind that is because if you add incorrect schema multiple times or on multiple pages on your website, then Google might either penalize you in rare cases, but also it starts rejecting schema from your domain. So even if you have valid pages, there's a chance that the schema will not be picked up. So it's important to have the right schema or have no schema at all. There's no middle ground. So that's why this option exists. I'll show you that in a minute where the options are, but This is the handy feature where Schema Pro can tell you that, okay, these fields have to be filled in. So let's start by filling in the fields. So first option is the job title field. And since the title of the post itself is WordPress developer, so what I can do is map it to the post title. To do that, I have to click this wrench icon, and now this becomes a mapped field, and I get access to all the 4 types of variables that I showed you earlier in the example. So if I click here, I have the post title option also available. So I'll select it, and now it's being mapped to the job title. So if I change the job title here, then Schema will automatically be updated. Next is the hiring organization URL. Let's assume that it's the right URL or our website. Then let's keep it at that. Next, the hiring organization and hiring organization logo. Since we are using our website as the URL, so the hiring organization and the hiring organization logo makes sense. We don't have to change it at all. The next option is the industry option. So what I'll fill in here is engineering, because that's the broad term that defines what we're looking for. The next option is employment type. Now this is a special kind of field because you have drop-down options to choose from. So I'll show you what the drop-down options are. Click the menu and you have options for full-time, part-time, contractor, temporary intern, volunteer, part-time, and other. So if you're looking for a full-time employee, select full-time, part-time, contractor, or other options respectively. So I'll select full-time here. The next option is the job description. It's mapped to the content of the post, which is not actually appropriate if you see right here. So what I'm going to do is click this icon right here and the field becomes editable and I can change it. So I'll write in some description here. So I entered a basic description of what kind of employee I'm looking for and what they can expect, what I'm looking for in them as well. Okay, so you can enter any description you want, or you can map it to the content of the post if that makes sense. The next option, date posted, and obviously I just published this post, so let's keep the published date as it is. It makes more sense. The next option is valid through, which I explained. It is most important to configure. So I'll go through here and it's a date. So the date picker will come up, and let's say I want to keep the valid through date as 2 months from today's date. So I'll go through the date picker and I'll choose, let's take for example, 29th of December is the date. So I can select it here. So it's configured properly. The next few options, as I explained in the previous screen as well, that they are quite self-explanatory. This is not something specific we need to do. So what I'll do is fill in all these fields very quickly and then we'll come back. All right, I'm back, and as you can see, I filled in some basic information about the job itself. Obviously, this is just a demonstration, so you will have to enter the information that you think is the best qualifier for your candidate. Coming to the next few options, they are address-related fields. So let me fill in them quickly and we'll come back after that. Okay, so I filled in some of the information related to the address. I filled in the address, locality, postal code, region, and also the country. The next few options are the salary options. You have option to configure the base salary, minimum salary, max salary. Now in the salary fields, you will not enter a currency symbol. You just have to input numbers. And when you have to specify the currency, you use the salary in currency field. So all you have to do is select the right currency. So I'll just go and do that. Okay, so I've selected the right currency, and the next option is salary per unit. Now what this means is, what is the time frame in which you are offering this salary? Now this is also obviously important to configure, because you don't want someone to get the impression that the salary that you've posted is a weekly salary when you thought it was a monthly salary. So I'll go here and select the option of what time frame that I'm talking about. So let's say I'm talking about monthly salary. So I've configured that. And based on this information, you can also fill in the base salary, minimum salary, and max salary. These are optional fields or recommended fields by Google, but as I mentioned earlier, the more fields you fill in, the richer your results will get. So for this example, I won't be filling in the base salary, minimum salary, and the max salary fields, and I'll update the post because I already published it. All right, the page is now updated, and what I'll do is refresh this page for a second. Okay, the page is now refreshed, and the reason I refreshed the page was because of this. Now you see Schema Pro is detecting and telling you that none of the important fields or the mandatory fields are empty. So none of these fields are in red. So this is what I was trying to show you, that once you refresh the page after saving your settings, Schema Pro will detect the fields once again and try to tell you if any of the mandatory fields are missing or lacking the important data. Okay, the post is now published. Let's go to the front end of the website and check out the post. So we are in the front end of the website, and this is how the post will look like to a visitor who's visiting this website. And now we have to test the schema on the page. To test the schema, the Google recommended tool is the Google Rich Snippet Testing Tool. And Schema Pro makes the job easier by introducing this button right here, the Test Schema button. So what this does is, first I'll click it and I'll tell you. So once you click the button, it opens up the Google Read Snippet testing tool and automatically enters the URL of the post you were on and starts testing the URL immediately, saving you a bunch of time and manual work. So let's wait for the test to complete and see if the schema was valid or not. Okay, Google has completed the testing of this page, and as you can see, page is eligible for rich results. The big green tick, the breadcrumb schema is being detected, and also the job posting schema is being detected and is also valid. Now, obviously, I see the warning and it is something that I already expected. So let me show you what the warning is about by clicking this, and let's check out the details. So everything that we configured in this schema is being detected perfectly, except for one thing. Let's go to that. It's the missing field base salary value, which is the optional field. Now, as I mentioned, without the optional fields or the recommended fields, the schema is still valid. Google will still consider your page in the rich results, but having more data with your schema means Google can understand it even better and distribute the job listing to more qualified people and the right people, which is important. That's why I recommend that you fill in all the fields that you can. So what I'm going to do right now is go back to the post, fill in the missing information about the salary, which I intentionally left out, and come back to this page, refresh this test, and then I'll check if the warning still exists. Now, I don't want to show all that process once again to you. So what I'm going to do is pause the video right now, and I'll just come back once this test is complete. All right, so I completed the process. I went to the page, I updated the schema with all the necessary information. I came back to this page, I refreshed this by using this button right here, and the process was complete. And as you can see, the job posting schema is now showing no warnings at all. It's completely accepted by Google, and obviously the page would have appeared in rich results anyway, but now Google has all the information it needs to ensure that their page is shown to the right people at the right time in the search results. And as you can see, all the information that I added in the schema results as you would expect. So let's do a quick recap of whatever we've learned today. First, we created a schema, job posting schema using Schema Pro. We added it to the appropriate pages and posts using the targeting options. Then we configured the schema on the template. Then we went to the page, configured rest of the settings on the post, and then we tested the schema and everything works out. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was helpful to you, make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video, and also make sure to subscribe to our channel because we create videos like this on a regular basis so that you can level up your knowledge about WordPress and other products. And if you're not a Schema Pro user, then what are you waiting for? Go check out wpschema.com to check out Schema Pro. I'll leave a link down in the description, and also check out some of the other amazing products that Brainstorm Force, that is us, we make for WordPress. We make the Astra theme, we make Schema Pro, and a bunch of other amazing products. Once again, my name is Yuvraj. You're watching Brainstorm Force's YouTube channel, and I hope to catch you in the next video very soon. Till then, take care.